Hello, how are you doing? It is a lovely sunny day here in London, and I have a big pile of new books, many of which I've not heard other readers discussing online or in the bookish community, but which I think sound really interesting. And these are a mixture of books that some publishers have kindly sent to me, and others I've bought myself. So I'm going to go through and discuss them all individually, and I'd love to hear if you have read any of these books or if you're interested in reading any of them now. And also to say this video is very kindly sponsored by Serious Lights, who create these excellent indoor reading lights, and I've been using mine for a really long time. So I'm going to discuss more about them in a little bit. But to start off with, I have a new collection of short stories called Purity by Andrzej Tichy, who is an author that was born in Prague, but has lived almost his entire life in Sweden, and he's a very well-regarded author in Scandinavia. And in these stories, he explores a number of individuals who are struggling in modern-day life. And I've read the first story in this collection, which is about someone who's on a public transport on a bus, and a man starts brooding and threatening, walking up and down the aisle. And of course, this is very alarming for the passengers on the bus. So it's about this like crisis point, and it explores these dramatic situations, but is also like meditating on our lives and how they are lived. Amor by Sara Mesa. This is a novel about a woman who moves to a small town in Spain in a rented accommodation, which is kind of run down, and about her struggles to fit in with this new community, and contending with her neighbors and her landlord, and it's about a local scandal. It's been likened to J.M. Coetzee's Disgrace, and is described as a very claustrophobic and contemplative novel. The Third Love by Hiromi Kawakami, which has a really beautiful cover, and it's about a woman who thinks that she's settled down completely. She's married her childhood sweetheart and had a child, but the harmony of their relationship is rocked by an affair. And so this calls her into questioning everything about her life and her decisions. And she meets a man who she becomes very close to, who teaches her to escape into her dreams and fantasies, and she starts doing this, but while also escaping, she starts making plans for her future. As I mentioned in the beginning, this video is very kindly sponsored by Serious Lights, who create excellent reading lights like this one. This is my high definition light that I have been using for over a year and a half, and I especially like to use it in the middle of the night when I wake up and I can't sleep, so I want to read something to lull myself. And this is so good for that because Serious Lights use daylight wavelength technology, which replicates the daylight spectrum as close as technically possible. And this means that the light is warm and natural, and also this is fully adjustable, so the light can be as bright or as dim as I want it to be, and the neck is very easy to move to focus the light exactly where I want it. Now, it's also important to read the right thing in the middle of the night, because I'm currently reading Joyce Carol Oates' new novel Butcher with my online book club, and it is excellent, but there are some very disturbing scenes in this, so really not right for middle of the night reading. So what I was just reading last night, I'm using this lamp, is a new collection of short stories called Goodnight Tokyo, which follows a taxi driver picking up different passengers, and we follow their different lives and how some of them intersect with each other, and it is just so lovely and comforting, and was a real pleasure, and just like brought me back to sleep like while I was using this lamp. So if you're looking for a new reading lamp, I'd really recommend checking out Serious Lights. I'll put a link below so you can have a look through and see if you want to buy one. And if you do, I have a special offer code for you. Be sure to enter the code Eric24 when checking out, as this will save you £100 on a high definition lamp and give you free UK shipping. So let me know if you do get one of their lamps. Please, I'd love to hear about it. And now back to the books. Next, I have not one, but 5 books by the author Fritz Peters that have been recently republished by an independent publisher. And this is an author that I've never heard of before, but he sounds so fascinating. He was an American author of the mid 20th century, and he had a childhood and a life which was racked by a lot of tragedy. So his parents divorced at an early age. His mother suffered from mental health issues, and he fought in World War II and was shell-shocked from that. And so a lot of these books reflect his experiences. So there's his very first novel, which is called The World Next Door, which is partly inspired by his experiences in a VA hospital. And so it follows its main character as he's recovering from the shock of war, and about the other patients that are in this ward. It's kind of been likened as a book that came before One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it's endorsed by Eudora Welty. So yeah, I think this is an author that was well known at one point, but is become less well known. Then there is his novel Finistere, which is about a novel about a boy's experiences when his parents divorce and he moves to France to attend a boarding school, and there he has a kind of illicit affair with a tennis instructor. So it gives me kind of Call Me By Your Name vibes, sort of exploring an adolescence experience and coming of age story with homosexuality. And again, this endorsed by Gore Vidal. And then there is his novel The Descent, which looks at a dramatic incident of a car crash and all of the lives of the people affected by it. But it's really examining the modern world and how everyone is kind of rushing to get somewhere, and that predicament. Now, when Fritz Peters was a boy and his parents divorced and his mother had a lot of problems, he moved to France with his aunt, who took him to stay at a commune, which one of the leaders of this commune was a man named Gurdjieff. And this man Gurdjieff, older man, was a big influence on Fritz Peters' life and a real inspiration to him and guide to him. But they had a very turbulent relationship and connection as well. So this first book is a memoir describing his early experiences with this kind of mystic and intellectual figure. And then this next book, Gurdjieff Remembered, is about his experiences with him after the war, when they reconnected, and he was looking for even more inspiration from this figure. So yeah, he sounds like a fascinating person, and it's really interesting how he was inspired and dramatized different areas of his life in these books. And I just love it when authors from the past who might have fallen out of public eye get this renewed interest when their work is republished like this. Then there is the novel Sandwich by Catherine Newman, which follows a woman who's at this stage in her life when her children are a bit older, but they're still kind of reliant on her, and but also her own parents are really involved in her life, but they're nearing old age. So it's been sandwiched in this period of life where you realize and recognize that change is going to occur very soon, and it's trying to preserve the present moment. And it follows an experience as she and her family go to a holiday home in Cape Cod that they traveled to for a long period of time, and following that experience. And the author, Anne Patchett, is a fan of this book, and she says Catherine Newman does a miraculous job reminding us all reminding us of all the wonder there is to be found in life. There's a new debut graphic novel called Giant by Mollie Ray, and this is about a boy who wakes up one morning to find that he's physically grown very large, but also his brother has been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. So the story follows his experiences and his family's experience, but there is no text in this book. It is all just conveyed through pictures and illustrations, which I think sounds really fascinating. And also the illustrations in this remind me a bit of kind of the artwork in Studio Ghibli films. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have a little metal Totoro that is just there on my shelf. Going Home by Tom Lamont. This is a novel about a man who experiences a very sudden and tragic incident, and this forces him to become close to and communicate with members of his family and friends from his past, and it's about his experiences, how he has changed over time, but at the same time he's still somewhat like the same boy he was growing up. And so it's looking at that tension in our lives, how we are like essentially the same person that we've always been, but how we've changed through a number of different experiences. Next I have a couple new novels which sound quite fun and fantastical as a kind of a bit of light relief, but that but also have interesting things to say. So first there's a novel, Dancers of the Dawn, which is about a group of women that are trained in the desert to become dancers, but not for entertainment, but as weapons to be wielded by a queen, and following one character in particular who, when she dances, she's able to wield fire, but it's about her moral sense of conflict about how to use this special power of hers. Then there is The King's Witches by Kate Foster, and this is a historical novel set towards the end of the 1500s when Princess Anna of Denmark is set to marry King James VI of Scotland, but before they're allowed to wed, she is given a years-long trial period to see if she's able to integrate with court and if it's able to be a happy marriage. And so it's following that journey, but also that of her lady-in-waiting and a local girl who becomes involved in witchcraft. And so it sounds like a really intriguing story, and Kate Foster's previous novel, The Maiden, was just recently longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. And finally, I have a couple of nonfiction books. So there is The Rest is History, which is written by historians Tom Holland and Dominic Sandbrook. And these are little tidbits of information about the past that are really oddball and fascinating that you might not have known about before. But also it's clearing up some common misconceptions about history and misunderstood things about it, but it also includes a lot of fun lists. So there's like one list that's called the top 10 mistresses from history. So yeah, a really like fun collection of facts that I think it'll be just fun to dip into over time. And finally, because I really enjoyed taking a short trip to Paris recently and going to some different literary locations there, I want to have more experiences like that. And there's this really great book called The Book Lover's European Bucket List that details a number of different locations around Europe and their connection to different novels or authors. And so some of these I visited before. So like one of them is Livraria Lelo, a bookshop in Portugal that is absolutely beautiful, and it is that gorgeous inside, and it's become quite well known, not just for being a really beautiful bookshop, but also it partly inspired J.K. Rowling in the writing of her books. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of locations like this that I'd like to visit to at some point. It'll just be fun to like have this on my shelf and sort of tick them off as over the years as I start to visit visit a number of these places and will hopefully inspire me to read some of these books and then go to these locations if I've not read them before. So those are all of the new books that I want to talk about. And like I said, I'd love to hear if you've read any of these books, or if you want to read any of them now, or if you have got any new books recently that you're really excited to read. Please let me know about that in the comments below. And I hope you have a lovely day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.